Gentlemen, and welcome to the United States Air Force Academy, our new home for this Football Manager series, the continuing exploits of Zebu Nation 2. To answer your question, no, we didn't run off and join the military because we got fired by the Lansing Ignite, our hometown team. No, instead we've come here to the Air Force Academy to take over their soccer program, their very successful soccer program, I might add. And as you can see here, this place has a tremendous campus. We're in the heart of the Rocky Mountains. We've got nature, we've got walking paths, we've got all kinds of amenities. Everything you could possibly want in a soccer program is here. We've got tremendous history, tremendous architecture. The campus is very beautiful, state of the art. We've got great facilities. And speaking of great facilities, even our soccer program is pretty good and it's expanding. We've got a nice stadium with a great view of the mountains. You can see it right here. It's a tremendous place to play and practice. The boys are already hard at work, as you can see here. We've gone through some spring and summer drills. I've been doing my best to learn the players, to introduce them to my system, and now I think we're ready to take on the NCAA season in 2020. So here we go. Let's check it out. Okay, hope you liked that little introduction to our new home here at the Air Force Academy. Now, to be clear, we are continuing on from the Lansing Ignite series. So, same coach, same Uncle Sam database, which means I guess we're turning this series into kind of an exploration of the lower division of American soccer, the American soccer pyramid, which means for Air Force Academy, we're going to be looking at the NCAA, or college university soccer. If you're outside the United States, you might, or even if you don't pay attention very much to college athletics, you might not know that the military academies actually participate in college sports just like they're any other university. And in fact, if you go to one of these military academies, you do get a Bachelor of Science degree just like you graduated from any other college. Now, the difference is that once you graduate, you also congratulations, you're now in the military. But the thing about these academies, and when I mean these academies, I mean Army, Navy, Air Force, which is, Army is the academy at West Point. The Naval Academy is in Annapolis, Maryland. And, of course, Air Force is here in Colorado Springs. But you also, not only do you get a degree, not only do you graduate and join whatever military branch you decided on, but you also become an officer. So when you graduate from the Air Force Academy, you are a second lieutenant in the Air Force. So that's why instead of just joining the Army or whatever, you would go to one of these schools if you've got the grades, and then you can go on to be an officer, and you don't have to work your way up through the ranks. You got sort of a straight shot because you've gone through this 4 or 5 year program at the academy. So anyway, that's enough of that. We're going to get into the Football Manager side of it. This is our coach, Zebu Nation 2. He's got that, brutal experience of being fired from his first job. His hometown team lets him go. We were, given sympathies by a lot of our regular viewers, so thank you for that. Also, some of the coaches out there, our fellow managers in the FM community, even the bad boy of Southeast Asian football, FM Lama, gave us a little shout out saying he thought it was an unfair firing, and definitely agree with him there. But anyway, we're moving on and we're moving up. It's hard to say. Some people would say that moving down to the NCAA from Division 1 of the soccer pyramid, or not Division 1, what am I talking about? USL 1. Moving down to NCAA is kind of a step down, but in many ways it's not, because we've got, a massive budget. We've got facilities to die for, as you've seen in our little introduction video. And we've got the Air Force brand name behind us. I mean, we went from Lansing Ignite, who people in our own hometown have never heard of, to now we're joining the Air Force, who everybody in the world has heard of, the United States Air Force. So, it's a different game. It's a different challenge, but I think we're up to it. Our coach is looking pretty decent for this level. We got a Continental A license. We're going to be working on a new qualification pretty soon, so hopefully that'll help us raise our attributes a little bit more. We're good at attacking, defending, and technical. Those are our strengths right now. Kind of weak in the mental areas, so hopefully we can assemble a coaching staff to help us deal with that. As far as winning percentage go, I think we're pretty decent. 58% winning percentage, I think that's pretty good. Obviously, we didn't meet expectations at Lansing Ignite, but those expectations were very high, and it did take us a while to get this job. We applied for a ton of jobs all over the place. Canada, United States, Mexico, Costa Rica, every professional club we could find, we tried to applying for, but Air Force Academy has given us a shot, and that's good because they're a very loyal institution. They tend to keep their coaches for a while, so hopefully our expectations will be good. Now, as I mentioned, this is going to be a different series because you look at our finances. We got $1.8 million in the bank. Our board does not care about finances because when you're a university and also when you're Air Force, you get obviously you get endowments, you get tuition. You get to keep all the money from your stadium because you own the stadium, right? So there's really no problems. And also the biggest thing, of course, is you don't have to pay your players. This is a beautiful criminal organization here. We get to keep all the money, we get government money, and we also don't have to pay our players. It's a scheme, it's a scam. I tell you what, college athletics. But anyway, that's where we're at. So what we do have, the challenges that we have to meet, is we do have a demanding board. They've got a lot of requirements. Look at this. They got 6 requirements here. Well, 5 requirements, but 2 of them are kind of the same. I'm not quite sure what's the difference between NCAA D1 top half and NCAA D1 top half. So they're currently satisfied with one and reserving judgment on the other. So this just might be a quirk of the database where we've got to manage this, and hopefully these are just the same thing twice, but I don't know. Now the other thing is we have a couple of different seasons, and we've already actually gone through one season, which we'll talk about in a minute. But so you have the overall NCAA. They want us to finish in the top half, and there's a lot of NCAA teams. There's like 120 NCAA teams, maybe more. So as long as we finish in the top 50, we'll be okay. So hopefully that's fine. Then a little tougher is the non-conference. They want us to finish at least mid-table. So of all those 120 teams, we can't play them all, obviously. So they break them up into a couple of different sessions, I guess you will. There's the non-conference season, which basically you play all the teams, well, not all the teams, but you play a selection of teams from around the country that are not in your particular conference. So we're going to get a schedule of those teams that we play, and we just have to beat at least half of them, so that's fine. Then there's the spring season, which we've already gone through. Now, this is an interesting season. It's something that they have needed for a long time. It's something they're just starting to implement now, is to have a spring season, and thankfully Uncle Sam has incorporated that into his database. One of the updates that he made a couple of months ago is putting in this spring season. And it's a great thing because it gives you more games to play, which is what college soccer needs. Now, the other thing that college soccer has to keep in mind is that a lot of their players go out in the summer and play for semi-professional or amateur teams around the country. And there's a certain season for that. It's like the summer season where their players, they're not in school, right, because it's the summer. And so they go back to their hometowns and they play for their hometown amateur club, like they used to do for my amateur club, the Lansing United. So they have to sort of balance that. So they decided on a spring season that comes before that summer period where all their players leave campus. And that's what we played earlier to sort of get a hold of the team and everything else. And we played pretty well. If you look at this college season, we're undefeated for the spring season. Pretty good. We beat UMass. We beat San Diego State. Rider, UAB, which is University of Alabama, Birmingham. Tulsa, beat them 4-1, really killed them. Take a look at some of these goals. We threw a couple of friendlies in there as well. But, the players really took to our style of play. They really played well. We've got a couple of key players out there. Most of them are here on this this chart here. Rietsma is one of our top central defenders. Lewis, one of our top strikers. Tucker Elbum, who is our team captain with some goals. Billy Davis, I believe he's also a central defender. He is. So our two top central defenders and our two top strikers, which if you watched any of my seasons before this, those are two positions that I really try to solidify, along with goalkeeper, is striker, central defense, goalkeeper. I like to be strong up the middle. So you can see we're going to be strong on set pieces this year. Album, who I call E-Bomb's World, he's terrific in the set pieces. You can see here, this is why our central defenders are getting so many goals. There's Davis, who's a high flyer on the back line. Looks like this is Tulsa getting one back, perhaps. Davis with a poor header, poor clearance. Great through ball right there for Tulsa. But this is what we're doing. We're running a 4-4-2. We're focusing on set pieces. We're getting a lot of goals this way. Here's kind of off a set piece, and there's Willis hanging out, our other striker. And then Vargas sends one across. This is going to be, I think this is a great pass from Holloway. Yeah, there it is. He hits E-Bomb, sneaks it in the near post. And we're off to the races. So this is a tremendous start to our new career here at Air Force, going undefeated in the spring season. So very, very excited about that. We mentioned our players a little bit. We have to talk about the roster, because things are different. Things are very different when it comes to NCAA. Let's take a look. Actually, I think we have a little something coming up. We have to submit our roster. So let's do that right now. Let's take a look at the roster, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So we've got a lot of unregistered players. We can only have a maximum of 30 players. We can have no one who was born before 1997, December 31st, 1997, or born after 2001. So, basically we're an under 23 squad, but we've got that extra bonus where we also can't be under 19. So it's a 19 to 23 squad, and that's cool because that goes along with the rules of NCAA soccer. Like you have to go to college to play in college sports, right? So you have to be a certain age group. That's another update that Uncle Sam did to his database, so very excited about that. But the reason we have so many unregistered guys is that these are our recruiting class. These are the guys we got through recruiting, and this is kind of an automatic process, at least in this database, where you just sort of get a group of guys that show up, and that's your recruiting class. Now you can have 10 new scholarships or 11 new scholarships every year. That's sort of the NCAA rules. Is you can have 30 scholarships total on a team, and you can have 11 new scholarships per year. Right? So you can't turn over your whole 30-man roster in a year. You have to use only 10 of those per year, but you get 30 total. So if you give, 10 one year and 10 the next year and 10 the next year, that's your 30. So they sort of spread out over the years, and that's how you keep your players separate and your registration clean. So all these unregistered guys who are 17 years old, and a couple of them have recently turned 18, these are all our freshman class, incoming class, so they'll be available to us next year. And most of these 18-year-olds down here who are registered, and now I guess a lot of them are 19, but those guys were our freshmen last year. So it was interesting to see that transition. Like I took over this team at the end of last season in like December, and so I could see all these 18-year-olds were unregistered because they weren't old enough. But then January 1st hit, and now they were old enough. They were eligible to be registered, and then a bunch of 17-year-olds popped up in the list as new recruits. So it doesn't look like I'm going to be able to scout and recruit my own guys, except for maybe here or there one or two on certain years if I think we've got holes in the roster. But for the most part, it's going to be kind of an automatic recruiting process. We're going to get who we get and have to make do. And so far, the players have been pretty good. So this is our registration. 30, we don't have anybody currently under age because we can't, if we took out, let's say, Andy Rock, take him out, bring in Eric Santana, no, cannot do. See, he's too young, so we can't register him. So out, and then bring Andy Rock back in. So it's an interesting mix of players. Some players who are pretty good, some players who are really good, and some players who are not so good because we don't really have a lot of control over the roster, but that's what you get with college sports. You kind of have to make do with the players you recruit. You can't really go out and buy players or anything like that. I mean, you can maybe recruit in a junior college transfer or a transfer from another school or something like that. But there are even rules against that. Like you can't actively recruit somebody who's on another team. You can only just sort of hope they pick you, and then you can sign them. So there we go. There's our roster. There's our stuff like that. Competitions, NCAA Division I Soccer and Western Conference. Take a look at D1. See where we're at. Season preview. We're pretty high. Probably because we had such a successful spring season. We're ranked 14th in the country coming in. That's pretty good. But if you know Air Force's history recently, been pretty good recently. We've had some good overviews, some good competitions. We won the Western Conference in 2017 and 2018. 2019 was a bit of a dip, finished mid-table, but the coach moved on. The coach went, actually, I looked him up, he went to go coach Orlando City B. So he went to our division and we came down to his division, and we'll see who does better. But it's very rare for Air Force to change coaches unless they retire or they go get another job or something like that. They don't really do a lot of firing at Air Force, so that's pretty good. But they have had some good recent success, and we're going to try to build on that. And being ranked 14th in the nation in the preseason poll is pretty good. Interestingly, Western Michigan is number 1, 7-2 odds. That's interesting. UMass Loyola, Massachusetts Lowell Riverhawks. Oh, wow, that's a small university for sure. UNC Asheville, they're a power. Stanford, of course, is a power. UCLA. Howard, that's cool to see them ranked in the top 10. You don't normally see them competing with large, like Division I schools, so that's cool. Indiana, one of the powerhouses. There's our big rival, Navy. Air Force is always a big rival with the other service academies, especially Navy. And, of course, everyone likes to beat Army. Where is Army at? How's their football program doing, or their soccer program, rather? How are they? Oh, boy. Army, did I skip over them, or are they just this bad? I mean, Army is sometimes hit and miss athletically, depending on the coach, usually. Their football program can be strong, but it can also be pretty weak, and I assume the rest of their sports follow that. Boy, look at Michigan State, 169th. That's terrible. Maybe they didn't play in the spring season or something like that, or maybe I missed them. Where? Oh, there's Army. Ouch. 190th in the nation. Holy cow, Army, what has happened to you? Did they play in the spring season? They did play in the spring season. Did fairly well. 4 wins, a loss. 4 wins, 2 losses, and a draw. That's pretty respectable. I don't know if that's ranking you 190th. But sometimes these preseason polls are pretty inaccurate, so we'll have to live with that. We'll see. Hopefully we can face Army and Navy. Hopefully we can face both of those guys at some point this year, but I don't know if that's built into the database for, a built-in rivalry like there would be in real life. We don't have anybody on the Dream 11. Got goalkeeper Ruiz from Virginia Tech, Denny Wood from LIU, Ethan Leo from Lehigh. Interestingly, Lehigh was the other. No, it was Lafayette, not Lehigh. I was going to say the other vacancy in NCAA, there were only 2 vacancies. There was Air Force and Lafayette. So we had our choice, and of course I'm going to go with Air Force. Why wouldn't I? Service academies. I loved playing service academy in the college football game, NCAA, EA Sports, NCAA college football. They were one of the teams that I loved to take. All right, so here we go. Western Michigan, central defender. Jose Perlman from New Hampshire. John Miklos from Bradley. Another Western Michigan, another 19-year-old. So Western Michigan seems to have gotten a pretty good recruiting class last year. Rodriguez from Campbell. Rodriguez from Pittsburgh. Harden up top from Gardner-Webb. And Keith White, senior from UCLA. They're predicting our best teams, our key players, are going to be our 2 strikers. And I don't blame them. As you can see here, we do have our cadet photos in there. We went out, grabbed some cadet photos from the photo album, and we've got as many of them in there as we can. But this guy, he's a top player. You can see they're 4.5 stars. He really looks like an MLS draft pick. I'll tell you what, if this guy was in the MLS Super Draft, I would pick him up without a doubt. Only 19 years old. Great finishing, dribbling, great pace, flair. He's got everything you need to score goals, and that's what he's been doing for us. And then we have our captain, our senior leader, Tucker Album. He's an interesting guy. He's a target man. He's not that tall, but he is very strong. He's very balanced. He's hard to move out when he gets in front of goal. And he's got tremendous heading. As I mentioned in the highlights, he's a great at free kick taking. You can see him assisting on 2 of those free kick goals, and he's going to assist on a lot of our free kick goals this year. He's a great leader, great teamwork, just an outstanding senior locker room guy who's also putting it together on the field. That's everything you want for a team leader in college sports. So there we go. We're going to, pause it here, get to our first game of the season. Hopefully this video isn't too long. We got UC San Diego coming up in our non-conference schedule. Now, non-conference isn't listed as one of our things here, and we can't even, I haven't been able to find it. I haven't been able to find the spring season or the non-conference. So the only way we can look at it is our schedule. You can see here we've got a 7-game non-conference schedule. San Diego, California, Rider, UCF, Michigan, that's an interesting one, West Virginia, and then UConn. So we'll see. There's some big schools in here, but I think we can compete against any of these guys. We've been playing against some professional and semi-professional teams in the preseason, so we did pretty well, and I think we can do pretty well against the University of California, San Diego Tritons. So we're going to pause it here and get to the game.